We've all played badminton, and it seems like the rules are fairly easy to understand. You cannot tell me that the birdie we use at home, this thing, you can lean on this as hard as you want. This thing isn't going 200 miles an hour. It's not. And even though it doesn't look sophisticated, it has a tree-seeking device implanted in it somewhere. I don't know where, but I've played a lot of badminton with my kids. By the 7th shot, this thing's up in the tree. Throws a racket up in the tree. Now your racket's up in the tree. Says, don't worry, I'll get that down. So now your kid goes into the garage and goes and gets the red rubber ball. Throws that in, that immediately gets impaled. So she goes to get something else to get to get one of these things down, okay? Now there are kids from all over the neighborhood, all right? You realize suddenly you own 18 basketballs. You've got 9 footballs, okay? There's softballs flying through the air. The tree is now groaning with children and equipment, all right? Someone's turned on the hose. Badminton is a water sport. They're trying to get this thing down with a hose. Neighborhood, here, that badminton is being played at Mary's house. They're dropping off their kid. They know it's an all-day affair. They know it's going to involve 17 other sports. He sizes up the situation and says, hey, come on over. We're playing badminton. That is a sport that I know, and that's probably a sport that you know as well.
Oh, hell no. This is NBC's Mary Carrillo's epic badminton rant during the 2004 Olympics in Athens. Her words are strong and her story is compelling, and her entire 4-minute rant on badminton is hilarious, and I truly recommend you give it a full listen. However, her speech really reveals to us what Americans think about badminton as a sport. It isn't one, and they're wrong. Badminton is a legitimate, competitive, and a world-renowned sport. I've been training and competing in national tournaments for almost 10 years, and it just boggles me when I hear that people around me only recognize it for something that you bring along for your family picnic. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Ever since anyone can remember, sports has been a part of American culture for years. From watching the game on Sundays, going to the game with friends, having sports-themed parties, and screaming at the top of their lungs, rushing the stadium after unbelievable upsets. So what's all this fuss about? Or really, what makes a sport in America a sport? According to Oxford Dictionary, a sport is defined as an activity involving physical exertion and skill in which an individual or team competes against another or others for entertainment. And here, we're going to look at this. Simply put, whatever you're doing must be exciting enough and competitive enough for people to be willing to sit down and watch it for long periods of time, most of the time even spending money to go to a game or on other merchandise. To many Americans, however, badminton just doesn't quite hit the bar for these standards. For many of us, we see it as just a game that we play in the backyard or at the park with friends. A game that doesn't require any skill or training, and with rules that are just too basic to make it to a competitive scene. Outside of America, badminton is one of the most popular sports in the world. In places like Europe, Asia, and even in parts of Canada, people love it as much as they do soccer. It is without a doubt a competitive sport, and is only played in a proper gym. No backyard stuff here. To clear some misconceptions, its rules and play style are actually more in common with volleyball than with its frequently compared sport, tennis. Whereas in volleyball, you're allowed 3 touches before the ball has to reach the other side. In badminton, you're allowed just 1. One other thing is that plastic shuttles, or birdies as they're also referred to, are never used in badminton. Badminton shuttles are actually made out of 16 goose feathers, all taken from the left wing. It's quite bizarre, but the contours the feathers make allow it to accelerate at insane speeds, making badminton one of the fastest racket sports in the world. To put this in perspective, the average tennis serve, which is the fastest shot in a match, ranges from about 120 to 140 miles per hour, with the record being at around 150. The average badminton smash, however, ranges from 180 to 200 miles per hour, with the official world record set at 206 miles per hour. Overall, this sport requires extremely fine hand-eye coordination, mobility, stamina, and reflexes. Being able to think on the spot and react to the positioning and placement of the shuttle is one thing that many players are never able to master. After having a few quick glances of professional badminton, you can start to wonder why this is the first time you've ever seen anything like this. And it kinda ties into one crucial aspect that I glossed over when wondering why it isn't seen as a sport in America. America is not good at badminton. The Olympics, an event that every American looks forward to, a time to show off our superior powers and flex all the gold medals that we'll eventually win. Badminton has been registered as an Olympic sport since 1972, and as an Olympic sport, you've never really seen any broadcasts of a badminton match of USA versus Canada or any other country for that matter. And it's all really because we're simply not good enough. Badminton was originally invented in India and was adopted by England when they took over. There, it was able to gain popularity in Europe and eventually Asia, where it blew up. And it was never really able to gain praise or popularity when it came to America. This helps explain some things. Currently, all of the best badminton players in the world come from countries like China, Korea, Denmark, Indonesia, Malaysia, and others. USA as a country has never come close, which is why we don't really care much about airtime. In fact, our current best badminton prospects in America are all coached by former world champions that come from these countries. In a way, America is getting hand-me-downs from countries who continue to produce world number ones. The only instance USA has won a badminton medal was during the 2005 World Championships, where Howard Bach and Tony Gunawan won gold after Gunawan had put his former national team in Indonesia. With all this, all in all, badminton was never able to gain the popularity it deserved, and when it arrived to the States, it was introduced as a leisurely backyard game. And the slight belittling from Mary Carrillo doesn't really help. By painting a false image of what the sport really is, America is missing out on one of the most entertaining sports to watch and play. We have to be more open on our judgment and explore things that we've never seen before. I encourage each of you to try out badminton in its true form at your local badminton club. You may find a love for something that you never knew about. I'll leave you with a clip that captures what it might sound like to be on a badminton court with broadcasters. Thank you.
Olympic badminton is coming back after this.
They're standing almost at the service line.
Oh, brilliant. Good rally. Oh, goodness. Oh, how quick was that? Oh,
Aye.
between the legs. I don't believe it. Well, that's got to be our player of the day. What a rally.
Most insane rally.
Brilliant. Between the legs. That fast exchanges, then the defence, and 38 shots. Longest rally of the match so far. Look at that, heart and soul going into that smash. Fabulous.